pretty minimal, some of it's mandated.
Yeah, I got issues with that a little bit, that we got two people, we got basically two people and a part-time in the assessor's office, and gonna have, if he gets any more, he's gonna have 4 up there in that office. And you start, just a couple of years ago, it was Gene. Now look what that's grown into, it's almost like a runaway train.
Part of it's mandated,
Well,
yeah.
whatever that's worth.
Yeah,
Museum?
okay. All right, moving down to museum, and, you know, that was, percentage-wise a little high, not very many dollars. Talk about what your pleasure is there.
What, part-time, what's our limits on part-time per hour?
15.
That's max?
Supposed to be.
And
That
we were
being what-
mandated with the Obamacare thing to not more than 29.5.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing that can really,
The thing about that $15 an hour is that's a max, and I don't know how many people we got at $15 an hour, but when we do our stuff at redevelopment commission and talk to companies coming in, take a very dim view of anything that's below $15 an hour. Then we've got to have a lot of them below 15, and 15 is our max. So it's something we just need to think about, I think.
As we go through the salary ordinance.
Yeah.
Do we have a lot of them under 15, Jenny?
almost all of them. I think that's why we have turnover so much with part-time people.
I mean, what would we be paying, kind of an average? 10?
I see a lot of 11 and 12s.
Yeah.
11, 12?
That's just, or is it being a little two-faced in that?
I can tell you too, I did a report just yesterday, since the first of the year, we've hired 23 new people already, that's because half of it was part-time.
Rent somewhere for more money.
Well, you didn't really hire them, you replaced some.
Replace them.
Don't say hire.
Hi,
You didn't hire.
Replace,
That's
correct.
Replaced.
Replace. Did I scare you?
Gee, 22 employees.
Take a deep breath. Hey, oh, take a deep breath.
22 employees. Talk about a runaway train.
You take it over, didn't look.
That's all
Yes,
right.
replace, you're right.
See if he's paid attention that way.
I was listening.
Welcome up.
Pam, can you do some research for us and find out what a good part-time wage would be?
a starting point and an ending point.
Okay, then we get down here to the jail and sheriff thing, and that may be a discussion also at a later time.
Look at your fast food, they're trying to get it up to 15.
In New York,
I know they're talking right now about raising the minimum wage
Yes.
significantly.
Yeah.
And that's gonna do is that's gonna push up these employees that are,
7 something. They'll never get
you know, think they get
it.
it.
Well, they'll get some, but they're not gonna get it up there to $15 an hour.
Well, they were talking, pushing the number of 10, I heard.
In New York and Chicago, places like that, they might, because the cost of living is
But
Yeah.
not different than here.
I could probably see that because I think you can go to McDonald's or someplace, start at 10. So I could see maybe going to there, but not.
Well,
Yeah, not 15.
some cities.
One thing that we
have
didn't
their
get
own
on there
minimum
was
wage law.
that
Yeah.
maintenance person for the jail.
Because the
No,
cost of
that's
living
part
is
of the
Yeah.
jail thing
Okay,
too, I think,
right.
and that's part of the, that's another,
high.
but don't forget that.
Right.
I think that'll help their scheduling some with their
Yeah.
overtime and comp. If Mark's gonna take over the facilities, like George said, at the jail and the,
Cindy.
community corrections.
Yeah.
But Pam, that's a good point. That kind of shows you, although there are some elected officials in that 22, but that does kind of show you the turnover.
It does, I'll get you a turnover ratio too, so we can see.
All right.
But they came back down.
Okay, now, we got a new Cindy.
I was gonna have to do that.
Cindy sends her apologies, but she's in Chicago with the 4-H group, so
That's
The
fine.
Polish
Polish
group,
exchange group.
they
Yes.
going back today?
Yeah, they're heading back today. So she asked if I would sit in. So
All right, so now's the time, council's questions, comments and everything, and you're here and you can, you're on the hot seat.
I'll try to answer the best I can. So
What isn't getting done now that would get done if you had a half-time person?
well, one some of the things in the 4-H area we have had to drop because we don't have the time to take care of those things. We have lost almost 200 4-H'ers in the last 3 years. And part of that, I think, don't know 100% sure because you can't put everything with that, but part of it I'm pretty sure besides the economy has also been the fact that we don't have anybody there to go out and do some recruiting, go out and talk to people, make sure that they understand the program, those types of things. There are also some things that we would like to do in the agriculture and HHS area that we can't do because we don't have people in those positions to spend more time. Half of my time is with 4-H, the other half is with the agriculture area. So if I wanted to do a program that it takes an extensive amount of time, I may or may not be able to do that primarily because I've got the 4-H responsibilities, and to spend extra time on a project requires some things. One of the things I'd like to do, and we're trying to work through it, is some things about rental rates on land and that sort of thing, which affects a lot of the farmers in the area and landowners, and those things are changing, and we haven't had an opportunity to have much of anything like that for people here in the community. We have some great resources, but there's not been any time to do that with. We also have a lot of small farmers in our area, and we're trying to work on a program to do some things on helping small farmers understand how to work through things, maybe enhance their products that they have to sell at a higher rate to keep their incomes up, which would benefit the county because the more income, of course, the higher the taxes they pay and that sort of stuff. So, some of them don't have a lot of the resources. Big farmers, they know who to call down at Purdue and that sort of thing. The smaller ones, they don't have those resources that we'd like to be able to give them. Cindy, on the other hand, she's got some things where she's doing a little bit of 4-H, but she's also got her HHS, and then she also has the CED position and then supervising our family nutrition individual, and she's split 4 different ways, trying to do different things for the county and for Purdue Extension and that sort of thing. So I'm not sure exactly some of the programs, but I know that she would like to do a few more things with helping people with their financial parts of their lives and that sort of thing. That's one of her specialty areas, to kind of help people that don't understand how their checking account works and how some of those types of things, which always has a big issue. And there's a few other programs like that, nutrition programs. She's had to drop a few things, like she can't run the Serve Safe as many times, which is what we use to certify all of our restaurants, etc. We have to have at least one person on staff at all times when they're open with a Serve Safe individual. And she cut back to 1 time a year instead of having that at least 2. There's dining with diabetes, which she's had to cut back on it, not offer it as often, which helps our individuals that have diabetic problems, and with that, not only those people who have it, but she also brings in spouses to help them understand what do they have to do differently to help them out and stuff. So I can't answer all of them because I know there's other things, but I can't tell you exactly everything.
Dave, would
Yeah.
you share a part-time person with another county, or would you just have one that would just work here basically?
At this time, we're just talking for here. We know that Noble County is needing a part-time position also, because they just opened up, but they're already advertising it, and to do something like that, we'd have to coordinate between the two counties.
Now, do they have to have a degree to be an educator? or-
Yes, they have to have a degree, at least a bachelor's, but probably a master's degree. They eventually have to have a master's degree. So, that's the minimum that Purdue requires. And even if we hire someone with a bachelor's, when they're hired, they then have to work towards their master's degree. They can't just sit there with a bachelor's, and because they want somebody with some expertise and some training. And that's the other part of this, is that whoever we would hire, one of the things they're eligible for, Purdue does lots of different kinds of trainings and stuff, and so they'd be eligible for getting some of those trainings from Purdue and that sort of thing.
Now Cindy told us when he, a month ago, when we, or 2 weeks, whenever we did
Right.
the budget thing, you know, and of course, ultimately, you'd like a full-time one, but if we give you a 50% one, then we could eliminate your.
Half-time, or the part-time, yes.
Right, and you really feel that a half-time agent with a degree is a whole bunch more beneficial than your part-time that we gave you?
Yeah, for several reasons. One, they're eligible for training. They can do teaching. Technically, our program assistant can't really teach anything because they're not expertise. They also can answer questions. We don't like anybody in the office giving a official answer to anything unless they're on staff, because that opens the county and the university to liability if they tell them the wrong thing. And then thirdly, then even though they are basically 20 hours, they are salary. And Purdue doesn't want them working like 35 or 40 hours a week, but the occasional extra time is a salary person is a salary person. You're going to spend some extra time. Both Cindy and I are 40-hour employees. We don't spend 40 hours a week working. We definitely spend more time than the 40 hours that we put in a normal week. So, and the same would
That's
be
what we
true.
wanted to hear from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know if in comparison with Whitley County to surrounding counties, the loss of 4-H'ers is comparable? We're higher, we're lower?
Some of the other counties did lose 4-H'ers. We are, percentage-wise this year, we were much higher than anybody else. In fact, some of the other counties gained 4-H'ers, but we lost almost 80 kids this year. So,
High school age or younger?
both. It was a combination of throughout all the years and stuff. And we had a smaller group of third graders come in than we typically. Normally when I've done it in the past, I've compared things, and third graders, I'll give you an example. 10-year members, we normally have about 35 to 40 kids. If you go back to 6th grade, which is where they're coming into middle school, we typically have 70 of those. When you go back to the third graders, we normally have about 140 to 150 kids. This year we were down to about 100 third graders coming in, which is much smaller than normal.
Which is really gonna add up as you go along.
Right, because typically as they come up through they get to,
They
Once you get 'em in, you-
dwindling off.
yeah, well, you get the middle school sports come in, they say, I'm gonna do sports, and that's fine. They're finding a niche and that sort of thing. They get to the high school age, they go, I'm gonna drop out to do a job and that sort of thing, and that's typical. But if you start with 100 and you drop to 50 as a 7th grader, you're gonna be down to 25 as 10-year members and that sort of thing, so it dwindles off a lot faster.
Okay. Is there any other questions? We're gonna
Yeah,
listen to you guys, and we're gonna discuss this after, when
Right.
we get all through this again, and we just brought you in to ask
Yep.
some more questions, and
I understand that.
appreciate your little walk over here.
Yep. Any other-
Anything else?
I don't have anything else.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Kathy?
Morning.